Tonight, I want to take you on a journey. It is a journey not just across a map, but across time and tradition. We are going to explore the heart of Asian culture through the most sacred time of the year, the Lunar New Year. The air was biting cold at the central train station. A young man named Minh stood among the massive crowd, his breath turning into small clouds of white mist. Everywhere he looked, the world was painted in shades of scarlet and gold. People were rushing, carrying heavy bags filled with gifts, blossoms, and traditional sweets. There was a frantic energy in the air, a sense of urgency that only happens once a year. Minh looked at his watch. In just a few hours, he would be back in his small hometown, a place he had not visited in over a year. He felt a strange mixture of excitement and anxiety. To Minh, the city life was fast and modern, but the traditions of his childhood felt like a distant memory. He didn't know it yet, but this trip would be more than just a holiday. It was about to become a lesson in what it truly means to belong. On this night, as the old year prepared to fade away, something in the wind felt different. It whispered of ancient secrets and the warmth of a kitchen fire. Before we continue our story and follow Minh home, welcome to the English Oasis. This is your quiet place to relax and improve your English naturally. If you love calm, meaningful stories like this one, please subscribe and join our little oasis. Now, let's see what waited for Minh at the end of the tracks. Minh stepped onto the train, watching the city lights blur into the darkness. He thought he was just going home for a few days of rest. He was wrong. He was going back to find himself. The train rattled rhythmically against the tracks, but Minh's mind was not at peace. He opened his laptop, the bright screen glowing in the dim cabin. Even though the holiday was starting, his inbox was still flooding with urgent emails and work notifications. To Minh, the Lunar New Year had started to feel like an obligation rather than a celebration. In the city, life moved at a lightning pace. He was used to ordering food with a click and communicating through cold text messages. The idea of spending days cleaning a house, cooking complex meals, and visiting distant relatives felt exhausting. He whispered to himself, "Is all this effort really necessary in the modern world? Why do we work so hard just for a few days of tradition?" When the train finally stopped, the air in his hometown felt different, thick with the scent of wood smoke and dried orange peels. He walked toward his childhood home, a small house with a wooden gate. As he entered, he saw his mother on a ladder, carefully wiping the dust from the window frames. His father was in the yard, trimming the branches of an apricot tree, hoping the yellow flowers would bloom exactly on the first day of the year. "You're home, Minh?" his mother cried, her face lighting up with a weary but beautiful smile. Minh dropped his bags. He felt a sudden wave of guilt. He saw the tired lines on his parents' faces, yet they were working so hard to prepare for his arrival. His mother handed him a cloth. "Rest for a moment, then help your father. We must clear away the old dust before the new sun rises." Minh looked at the cloth in his hand. He wanted to complain about his long journey. He wanted to check his phone for work updates. But as he looked around the room, he noticed a faded photograph of himself. He was a child in the photo, standing exactly where he was now, 20 years ago. He realized that while he was busy growing up, this house had stayed the same. But his quiet discomfort was about to become something much heavier as he realized how much he had forgotten. The next morning, the sun rose over the garden, but there was no time for a slow breakfast. In Asia, the days leading up to the Lunar New Year are a whirlwind of activity. Minh stood in the middle of the living room, surrounded by buckets of water, brushes, and old rags. His father handed him a set of brass incense burners from the ancestral altar. They were dark and dull from a year of smoke. Polishing these takes patience. Minh, his father said quietly, if you rush, you will miss the shine hidden underneath. Minh sat on a small wooden stool. At first, he worked quickly, his mind still racing with thoughts of his office and his unfinished projects. He felt frustrated. He thought, I could buy new ones in the city in 5 minutes. Why are we spending hours cleaning old metal? He saw this as a waste of time. But as he rubbed the polish into the metal, something happened. The dark layer began to fade, and a warm, golden glow appeared. He looked at the carvings on the brass, dragons and phoenixes that his grandfather had bought decades ago. He began to remember his grandfather's voice, telling him stories of family honor. The house was filled with the sound of scrubbing and the splashing of water. His mother was washing the curtains, and his father was sweeping the courtyard with a bamboo broom. We aren't just cleaning the dust, son, his father explained. We are sweeping away the bad luck and the sadness of the past year. We are making a clean space. Minh looked at his hands, covered in grey polish and dust. For the first time in months, he wasn't looking at a screen. He was touching his family's history. He realized that his mistake was thinking that new is always better than old. He began to understand that this cleaning was a ritual of healing. By cleaning the house, they were cleaning their hearts. However, the physical work was just the beginning. As the sun began to set, the air grew colder. A much larger task was waiting for them in the kitchen, one that required the whole family to stay awake all night. He thought he still had time to fix things. He was wrong. The transition from the old self to the new self was going to be more difficult than he expected. As evening fell, the kitchen became the heart. The floor was covered with large, green banana leaves, bowls of soaked sticky rice, and yellow mung beans. This was the moment Minh had always found the most difficult. In the past, Minh would find an excuse to leave the room. He thought the process was too slow. But tonight, his mother looked at him and said, Minh, come and help us. These leaves are the skin, the rice is the body, and the meat inside is the heart. Everything must be wrapped with care. Minh sat down on the floor. His movements were clumsy at first. He struggled to fold the leaves into a perfect square. He felt the pressure of the tradition. If he didn't do it right, the cake would break while boiling. He realized that in his city life, everything was instant. But here, quality required time and soft hands. Why don't we just buy these at the supermarket? Mom? Minh asked, his voice lower than before. His mother stopped and looked at him. We can buy the cake, Minh, but we cannot buy the time we spend together, sitting here. If we buy it, the tradition dies. When we make it, the tradition lives. Minh stopped struggling with the leaves. He looked at his mother's hands, hands that had wrapped these cakes for 40 years. He made a choice. He put his phone in his pocket and turned it off. He decided to be fully present. This was his point of no return. He was no longer a guest. He was a son again. Outside, a large fire was lit under a giant pot of water. The whole family moved outside to sit around the flames. The night was quiet, except for the crackling of the wood and the bubbling of the water. They had to sit there for 10 hours to ensure the cakes cooked perfectly. In the modern world, 10 hours feels like an eternity. But as Minh sat there, watching the sparks fly into the dark sky, he felt a strange sense of peace. He wasn't checking the time. He was listening to his father's stories about the old days. By the time the sun went down, nothing in his life would be the same. He realized that the correct choice wasn't about being productive. It was about being together. But as the fire burned low, he knew the most sacred part was waiting. The fire under the pot of rice cakes was still warm when morning arrived. But the work was not over. The next trial was the preparation of the 5-fruit tray. His father brought out a large wooden tray and a variety of colourful fruits. There were green bananas, yellow pomelos, red chilies, and oranges. Every fruit has a voice. Minh, his father said. They represent our prayers for the future. Minh found this task surprisingly difficult. It was like a puzzle. He had to balance the heavy bananas at the bottom to hold the other fruits. If he moved one piece, the whole structure would collapse. He tried 3 times. 3 times the oranges rolled onto the floor. He felt his old city impatience returning. He wanted to give up and say, "It's just fruit, Dad. It doesn't matter." But then he looked at his father. The old man was not looking at the fruit. He was looking at the altar with a face full of gratitude. Minh realized that his father wasn't trying to make a pretty decoration. He was showing respect to their ancestors. Minh took a deep breath. He tried a 4th time. He moved slowly, his fingers steady. He began to understand the trial of patience. In the city, he often looked for a shortcut. But there are no shortcuts in tradition. You must put in the effort. You must feel the weight of the fruit and the texture of the skin. Finally, the tray was finished. It was a pyramid of colours. "We don't pray for gold, Minh," his father whispered. "We pray for enough. Enough health, enough peace, and enough love." The afternoon passed in a blur of small tasks. Minh helped hang red banners and fill small bowls with pure water. Each action felt like a step on a long journey. He was exhausted, but it was a good tired. And still, the hardest part of his journey, was waiting at the end of the road. The sun began to hide behind the mountains, and the air turned silent. The village was waiting for the most sacred moment of all, the transition between the old and the new. The clock on the wall ticked loudly in the silence. It was 11:55 p.m. The entire village seemed to hold its breath. Minh stood on the balcony, looking out at the dark horizon. In the city, this time of night was usually loud with traffic and bright with neon lights. But here, the darkness felt sacred and heavy with expectation. Suddenly, the first firework exploded in the distance. Boom! A shower of gold and crimson sparks rained down over the rice fields. Then another and another. The sky was no longer black. It was a canvas of light. "It's time," his father said, his voice steady but full of emotion. They gathered at the ancestral altar. The scent of sandalwood incense filled the air, thick and sweet. His father lit the candles, and for a moment the faces in the old photographs seemed to glow. Minh watched his parents bow their heads. He saw his mother's eyes close tightly, her lips moving in a silent prayer. Minh felt a powerful climax in his heart. All the stress of his city job and the pressure to be successful simply vanished. He realized that this was the only success that mattered, being alive and home. He bowed his head too. He didn't pray for a promotion or a new car. He prayed for his mother's health. He prayed for his father's strength. He prayed that next year he would not be so late in coming home. The inner noise in his head, the constant worrying about the future, stopped. He felt a deep connection to the generations who had stood in this exact spot. He wasn't just Minh, the office worker. He was a link in a golden chain. The bells of the local pagoda began to ring, their deep, bronze voices echoing through the valley. Each strike represented a year of the past fading and the future arriving. His father turned to him and shook his hand, then pulled him into a strong embrace. "Happy New Year, my son. The old dust is gone. Now, we begin again." Minh felt a tear escape his eye. He realized that the big decision wasn't made on a computer. It was the decision to open his heart to his heritage. The transition was complete. The first morning of the new year arrived with a soft, golden light. The world felt cleaner, quieter, and full of hope. Minh woke up to the sound of children laughing and the distant crackle of firecrackers. There was no rush today, no deadlines, only the firsts of the year. Minh dressed in his best clothes and joined his parents in the living room. It was time for the tradition of Li Shi, or giving red envelopes. His parents sat on the wooden sofa, looking elegant and proud. Minh stepped forward, offering a red envelope to each of them. "I wish you health and a long life." It was a simple sentence, but it carried the weight of his entire heart. Then his father handed him a small, bright red envelope in return. "I am an adult now, Dad," Minh said with a small smile. "I should be the one giving to you." His father shook his head slowly. The red envelope is not about the money. Minh. It is a symbol of protection and a bridge of affection. As long as I am here, you are still my son, and I still want to give you my blessing for the journey ahead. As Minh opened the envelope, he looked at the handwriting on the outside. His father had written, "Success is not a destination. It is the path back home." At that moment, the final twist of the story became clear to Minh. He had spent years running to the city to find prosperity. But real prosperity had been waiting for him all along in this small house. The Lunar New Year wasn't just a holiday. It was a reunion of the soul. The village was now alive, with people visiting each other and sharing sweet tea. Minh looked at the apricot tree in the yard. It had bloomed perfectly, its yellow petals shining like gold. He realized he wasn't too modern for these ways. These traditions were the roots that kept him standing strong in the wind of the city. The story ended with a quiet understanding. Minh was ready to go back to his life, but he was carrying a piece of the oasis with him. Let us reflect on Minh's journey one more time. It is a story about rediscovering what truly matters. At the beginning, Minh was a busy young man, overwhelmed by work and disconnected from his roots. However, through the ritual of cleaning, he realized he was clearing his mind. He learned patience when he struggled to balance the 5-fruit tray. The turning point happened on New Year's Eve. He chose to be present with his family. The midnight fireworks helped him feel a deep sense of belonging. He realized success is about love and health. On the first morning, the red envelopes taught him that these customs are a bridge between generations. Minh arrived home feeling skeptical, but he left with a heart full of gratitude. No matter how fast the world moves, we must find our way back to our values. I remember standing at that crowded train station, feeling overwhelmed. I used to think the Lunar New Year was just a series of tiring chores and a burden. But when I saw my parents' aging faces, something shifted. As I polished the old brass, I didn't see just metal. I saw the reflection of my grandfather's life. The long night by the fire was the most important moment. I learned the value of patience. I wasn't an employee. I was just a son by his father's side. When the clock struck midnight, the fireworks washed away my anxiety. My success meant nothing without this home. Now, I understand that the red envelopes are symbols of love. I return to the city with a different heart. I still work hard, but I carry the warmth of that kitchen fire. My culture is the wind beneath my wings. The house is quiet now, and the decorations will soon be put away. But the spirit of the Lunar New Year remains. There is always a path back to our roots. In our modern world, we often chase things that have a price, but we must never forget the things that are truly priceless. Tradition is not just about the past. It is a gift that we give to the future to make sure our children know who they are. Tradition is not about worshipping ashes, but about keeping the fire alive. I hope Minh's journey has inspired you to look at your own traditions with new eyes. Whether you celebrate the Lunar New Year or another holiday, may you always find a reunion of the soul with the people you love. Thank you for spending your time with us here at the English Oasis. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a like and subscribe. Before you go, I have one final question for you. Which tradition in your culture makes you feel most at home? Please share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Until next time, keep practicing, keep listening, and stay peaceful. Goodbye for now from the English Oasis.